Hello and good afternoon. This is the AI Pressure Cooker Live. I'm Krasi, and today we have a special topic to discuss. Over the last year, AI had moved from being just an innovation topic to actually something that sits on every single board. And not only that, every board has to show its AI narrative, but also the leadership has to answer and come up with the efficiency story. And lastly, what we also have is the transformation agenda, struggling to show real results beyond the visible momentum. So when you have this kind of pressure, a lot begins to show up in the context of our work, our environment, the products that we build, and the companies that we work for. First, often speed becomes a substitute for competence. Second, many confuse efficiency with actually a strategy. And lastly, it is really weird that now we feel less under pressure and to start moving without clarity than in the past. So, in this context, the difficult question that I have for us prepared today is to think about, are we really building a strategic advantage with AI, or are we here having what I called a corporate theater? And I have the pleasure of having two special guests in the AI pressure cooker today, two leaders who see this pressure point from a very different perspective. We have Mar Mereo, who is a CEO and board member, and it is working specifically on those areas that affect investment, restructuring, and organizations thinking about what AI mean for their future. And also Margarita Rodriguez, who works very closely with chief transformation officers, having to navigate what the board decides and translating into the corporate complexity. So, Mar and Margarita, very welcome and super happy
Thank
to
you.
have you here with us today.
A pleasure.
And I want to keep the pressure on, it's already on, but I want to begin discussing and really looking for your perspective specifically on this pressure to show results. And I want to kick off the discussion with Mar. What do you think? Are you really convinced that a lot of the organizations and the board specifically have clarity on where the new opportunity is with AI? Or do you think that they're actually acting due to the fear of appearing unprepared?
As always, there's not, and with AI, there's not a clear yes or no, and this is the case. There are some boards and some companies that they started experimenting at the beginning how far they can go with AI and what the impact would be, and now those early adopters, they are well ahead. They are pushing real use cases in the companies, but there are many others that at the beginning they just went, okay, let's see what this AI thing is. So they felt behind. And with AI, they're so quick. Everything is quick. They are well behind. And they are trying to catch up, but in the wrong way, trying to make up the decision, say, no, we do this and that, but they don't really have a strategy on AI because they don't really understand how far they can go with it. So we have both at the moment, I'm afraid.
Yes, I was expecting that you'd acknowledge those two spectrums in a way of the different approach of the companies. And it's really interesting that you specifically call out the early adopters and the challenges you mentioned to actually understanding the difference between the technology, which is fundamentally different, but more critically, I think what we are beginning to see is how many underestimated the business model shift and the implications with that Which brings me to Margarita, and I wanted to ask you from your opinion on the ground with chief transformation officers scratching their heads to translate these big ideas into something tangible. How is it happening?
Thank you, Krasi, for inviting us. And it's a pleasure for me and for BT Consortium to be joining this AI pressure cooker. And what we are seeing around chief transformation officers is that actually there's you need to reconcile two perspectives. The first one is the business model perspective, that you usually get to this conversation of AI through this lens. But there is another perspective that for the board is crucial, and it's the enterprise architecture model. And how do you build and transform while operating the present that company to actually pursue the building of their capabilities, those that will differentiate that company, and those who have to be built and matured and developed in the long run. And from that lens, see this whole movement and be aware of what is noise around the company, what is the pressure that the digital ecosystem is imposing for industrial companies, for so many others, trying to show the benefits and overpromising on those benefits in the short term. And what we see is that boards need to uh, build and be very careful about the cohesion and the alignment of the team up at the top, to be very clear on what's the strategy they are pursuing and how AI uh, can give them uh, an advantage, uh, but being so clear on what they are pursuing as a company. I mean, a
Man,
company as a system, as a social system that is changing.
that's really an important point that you brought here, and I wanted to ask Mark: do you see that actually the boards had realized and recognized the how to say the lessons learned from the previous digital transformation, where there were a lot of hype, a lot of expectations, but the actual realization of the gains and the benefits? I think many companies are still on that road and that journey. So how is this time around on the board level? And why is it that the boards, specifically, in my opinion, still, from what I read, still feel kind of unprepared for this type of transformation that AI brought into everyone?
I think it's because basically it's a um, different kind of technology, I can say. Before, all technologies were like they were developed for solving one use case, and then they were trying to go up and solve others. But now AI is like a big umbrella that covers all use cases. You just need to think how to use AI to solve whatever problem there is in the company. Not today, but in the future, it will be any problem you can use AI to help you solve it. So I think that's the big difference, and it's a different way of thinking and a different approach to this technology that is making these awkward situations in some boards that some people they say, well, this is another technology that will navigate and that's it. It's like, listen, this is not like the previous ones. This is totally different. It will change even the way the boards will work together. not only the company, but even the board. So, and I think that's the reason why there's still people that they don't really understand the AI as, not technically, you know what I mean, but how AI will impact everything. It will impact everything. They think the impact of this technology is like any previous one, that it will be controlled in an area, like first CRMs. Okay, yes, yeah, it's just there, but AI is not. You cannot just do that. It's across the board. So, and that on top of a matter of how can I say? Normally, people at the boards, they are older. Yes. And normally, when you get older, you get more reluctant to newness. And I say normally because I'm old and I'm not reluctant, but normally they are more afraid of change. So, and that's another aspect that is impacting the boards at the moment. So that they are not that open to change. They just, sometimes they just look for how did we deal with this in the past. Listen, the past is past. The future is totally different thanks to AI. So it's difficult at the moment because it's like when it's changing, it's starting to change, and you really need to get on the wave, because if not, you're out. You will be out very soon.
I also, for some reason, I believe that this kind of fear of the unknown and also the complexity that you both spoke about of the umbrella AI, not a single aspect
Yeah.
of implication, but actually you have to think much more holistically and
Mm.
also to balance not only the short term but also the long term gains. I still feel that it is more natural for the boards and the leadership to actually fall with what I call the efficiency trap. Because right now, what is visible across pretty much every
Yes.
industry, not just tech, but anywhere you look, we
Anyway.
are seeing significant reductions in terms of layoffs, restructuring, and etc. And the prime reason that everyone has been blamed is not necessarily the organizational bureaucracy or inefficiency, but everyone is putting now the reason for that to AI. And just to throw some numbers for the audience, only in the Q1 this year, we have already reached almost 100,000 people impacted, with some of the big companies like Oracle, Amazon, Hewlett Packard, Salesforce, even IKEA is on the list of announcements. But I wanted to ask you, Mar, what is your opinion? Why why are we falling into this trap that innovation, the layoffs are actually framed as innovation strategy, which in my opinion is super misleading.
Yeah.
Why is this?
The I think it's a matter of getting confused with short-term outcomes, like a shortcut for very short, very quick outcomes. AI is very easy for anyone to say, okay, I can do this. Half that I use half the time to do this than before, so I need half the people. But that's a bit stupid, I must say, because the key thing for the new, and I say new leaders in any in the market, it would be to identify really well what your business is about and decide where AI can push you ahead, but always with a human in the loop. Because AI, of course, AI can do many things, and you can automate many things. Without AI, you can still automate. But the key thing is to know your business. And if you know your business, you use AI to help you grow. But all these layoffs that you've mentioned, sometimes I read them as an excuse of trying to solve bad decisions that were made before, because we can all remember times where big companies were hiring every month 5,000 people. It's like, really, 5,000 people at a time? You cannot manage that, no matter how big you are. And now, with the skills of AI and the efficiency that they are selling, it's the best excuse, because you cannot blame any person. It's AI. That's really good, you know? You have the perfect excuse. But if you start doing, like going into layoffs, you look at saying, oh, we don't need them anymore because I made the wrong decision. Who is going to blame the CEO? The CEO will not blame himself or herself. So it's better to blame the AI. So I think it's a bit of everything. But I must say that there will be a time where there will be a lot of jobs that won't be needed. They will be done by AI or robots based on AI, and there will be new jobs created. But in the interim, it will be hard because there will be not new roles yet, and we will be getting rid of some of the actual jobs, and that will be very hard. And I know it will happen.
Yeah, and I also think that in this turbulence, what we're also beginning to see is the blurring between roles. Now everyone can be a designer, everyone can code. People are thinking that they can be marketeers. Next thing you
Well,
know,
and
that
a different thing is to be a good designer, a good marketeer, you know, because
yes,
the average is not good enough anymore, you know.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask Margarita, do you think that the leadership and specifically transformation officers are actually prepared to acknowledge some of those mistakes or suboptimal decisions in the past and open a new page for the future?
I think, Gracie, there's actually a a journey we all have to go through in terms of AI fluency. We are all giving us the chance to experiment, to touch the models, to be able to see how this delegation, description, discernment, and diligence we all have to have with AI impacts our jobs as CTOs, and also how is this new context impacting as an opportunity and as a risk for the companies, and what CTOs need today is to see the enterprise as as a as a system, as a system in which if you change anything in your strategic architecture, that redefines it automatically your process architecture, and technologies and are opening new paths for value creation, for value destruction as well, for efficiency opportunities, or if you have a bad process, to have a massive impact with a bad process in which you may use AI, uh,
Yeah,
willing to help you in your efficiency objective, but actually being unaware of how many risks you are assuming without being conscious about. So, what I would say is as the CTOs growing their role and knowledge of how those five architectures, the strategic one, yeah, how processes are made, how your organization will need to be redesigned, how technologies go on board, and how prepared is your culture to support and to accompany all these changes. uh, we have to do a previous mm, a preview. You have the mission to actually like see the whole ecosystem, and to identify where those growth opportunities are, and that those are being approached with that consciousness of what's your business and how your processes uh, create value, and how the new roles or the delegation on AI agents can actually be intelligent to start
I'm a,
changing your way of operations.
Yeah, wondering, has this triggered actually the board? And Mar, you as a CEO, you have double head. Do you now think of the human capital differently due to AI and all of these automations and actually bad experiences that many companies, to my previous point on the efficiencies, they actually had to bring back people because the level of customer service dramatically suffered, leading to severe impacts on revenues. And there
Yeah.
were multiple examples of that. But I'm wondering, had this transformation and the intensity of what we are seeing now with technology made leaders and specifically boards rethink the employees in general and the value they bring to the human in that context?
Yeah, I can talk about my experience, and I must say, yes, definitely yes, because now main topics on the board are basically three at the moment. Well, 3/4. AI, of course, cybersecurity, that is linked to that. Geopolitics, impacting everything again.
For obvious reasons.
Yes, very obvious reasons. And also people. People is on the agenda, because and this is based on my experience. We've acknowledged that what is really key for the business, based on all the uncertainty that we live on now, the geopolitics, cybersecurity, AI, there is all uncertainties looking into the business. The base of our business is people. So we've acknowledged that from the very beginning, and the approach is our main asset in the company is the people we have. And with all the uncertainties, one of the goals of the company is to give them certain certainties. And that is like, how can I say, training on AI, mentoring from senior leaders to people in the company, open speeches of the high level hierarchy in the company, talking about how the business is, how is it doing now, what's the impact of the war at the moment, all that. But we've acknowledged that people is key to support the business. Without people, what can you do? Nothing. And you work not only for the company, but for the all stakeholders, all the ecosystem, because every company has an impact on the society. And we are very aware that we are responsible for the company and the impact we have on the society. So that's why people is key. So we have 4 topics on every board meeting we have. Those 4 are always there. Then some more, but those 4 always.
This gives me a lot of optimism in the context
Yes.
of everything to hear that actually people maintain as it heads to a strong position in terms of the priorities, as you spoke about, not only giving them security, if you could, would be great in
Yes.
terms of job security, but more importantly, what you raise is this almost like, I want to call it a future capability to help them within the journey, because there is no doubt there is going to be an impact. But if the
Yes.
organization is responsible to still upskill the people and help them within this difficult transformation, I think it's beneficial also for the longer term. And I
Mm.
wonder, Margarita, in the eyes of the chief transformation officers, how are they protecting this long-term, super valuable asset in terms of people in their organizations? Are they doing something that they should have done a long time ago? That all of a sudden now it's like a urgent priority?
What we are seeing is that actually most chief transformation officers are come from or the IT area of from the processes and operations area. They come from a function. So what they are preparing for is for the holistic view of the enterprise. And they continue to build those capability first in order to be able to
Mm.
understand how is AI an opportunity, and to assess in which moment is your team, your leadership team, in the position to actually make decisions about AI and business transformation. Most boards with which we work with in Latin America and Spain are going through their journeys of building their digital dexterity, and now their AI fluency. So that's the cornerstone to actually put in the agenda of the people agenda this journey of building that fluency in order to be able to decide where to delegate to AI some tasks, in order to make the choices of who are those people that can actually train and decide how to use AI in their roles, and in which stage of their value chain is it smart to start making changes, and also to raise awareness about the accountability that those changes will come. Uh, the we humans are responsible for the impact of those decisions, not just for the people we decide that will continue to be part of the company and who will need to leave, but for the impact of the decisions that alongside with the human can end up as a product, as a decision that has an outcome and an impact on other people and on our territories and the market.
And I think that to your point, I hope that empty is not a soft world in these days and does sit with the board well, because ultimately the board objective is and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, is to actually protect the longevity and the capability of the organization. Otherwise, not everything can run just in the short term. If the cycle keeps repeating all the time, then we lose a lot of momentum and repetition. So I think the board is also there for the long run. But I wonder, why is the impression that speed matters, and why is the push actually so much on the results-driven cultures and the performance that we're witnessing these days?
Um, Coming back to your point that the board, the board is looking long term, should not look short term normally. The CEO and his or her team should look into the everyday business. The board should not. So the only thing is that as everything at the moment is so changes so quickly, the long term is not that long anymore, you know. So before, I remember that long term was like 10 years. It's like now you cannot say, no, we'll do a plan for the next 10 years. It's like they look at you saying, are you crazy or what? 10 years. So, and then it came back to 5 years, and now we are into 3 years. So long term was long term before. Now it's kind of in between the short and the medium term, what we call now the long term. And that's why I think that happens, that we are all under pressure for results. And as we said before, everything is so changing every minute. The pressure is there because you get the sales today, but you don't know if you're going to get them tomorrow, because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. And since end of February that the war in Iran started, it's like that. Every day, everything changes. So it's like we need to make sure sales keep coming, because that's the basics for longevity of the company. So and that's why I think sometimes now the pressure on efficiency is everyday business for everyone.
And when we experience so much, as you pointed out, so much pressure and anxiety and uncertainty on the business side, I wonder, do you think that the board is actually in a position, or should they push a little bit the brakes to give the chief transformation officers and the rest of the leadership team a little bit of a breathing room? Or have we run out of air in this environment?
I don't think it's a matter of pushing the brake. It's about going into a different approach, and it's more about, for me, it's more about how can I say? Instead of the board pushing to some direction and the CTO trying to do, and then the CEO and his team or her team doing, it is more about, let's sit together, let's see how we can approach this, because this is different, and we need to start working in a different way, because it's not like the board, CTO, CEO. No, now different responsibilities, but we need to sit in the same room and let's talk, and let's get to a different approach to solve or trying to navigate what we have ahead. I think that's it's not a matter of pushing the brake, but let's give me your hand, give me yours, and let's start running together instead of just pushing somebody to run faster while you are sitting down. hmm
Yeah,
is running with them.
what you remind me is this idea that indeed we are in it together. So for a change, because I do have a lot of experience in the corporate world, and one
Yes.
thing that specifically bugged me for a while was this level of transparency of admitting that things are difficult and you don't necessarily have all the answers at the moment. But back then it was perceived as a weakness, whereas now I see this more openly happening. And I wonder, Margarita, do you also see this renewed level of transparency and honesty that is happening?
Uh, what we are seeing is a lot more of honesty in terms of none of us will do this alone. None of us will be able to lead this challenge with the expertise built on a career. None of us will lead
Mm.
this on a functional perspective. And if, as Mara was saying, we don't see the team at the top as a core team leading the operations, the short term and the long term of an enterprise that is meant to survive and to thrive in this changing world. Uh, the only the only thing that will enable those teams to do that is to be brutally honest about how far we are on our digital capabilities, digital dexterity and awareness, and to speed up our own journey of learning and as a team to be aware of the opportunities, to be aware of the risks, and to make collective decisions on what it's at stake, which is the organization, the impact on employment, the responsibility about the decisions that are being made, and we will only do that having a systemic view of the enterprise as a social system where you can not move a piece without impacting a part of that system.
That's so beautifully said. The interconnection and dependencies, because indeed, even if one industry is impacted, now we see the ripple effect across. So we do not have the luxury of silo thinking, as you pointed out, and that's something actually that gives me hope that with AI we are going to get better at some things. And one of my objective is indeed to kill the silos and the how to say hypocrisy or the lack of transparency on the challenges, and to pretend that we have the answers when we don't. And I wanted to ask you for the last couple of minutes before we call it a day today, if you can put yourself in the, I don't know, year 2030, a little bit in the future. And I know Mar said that that's very far away, but 4 years, let's say, let's stretch it a little. And if you are in 2030 and you look back to this moment in time, do you think, can you point out one assumption that as leaders, as board members or CEOs that are making today that possibly would be misjudged from our future selves?
Let me think. Difficult question, eh? I think if I'm in 2030 and I look back, I will say, how is it possible that they were not being capable of seeing that they need to rethink every business? You need to rethink every business. It will not be the same. How can they just, how they were just trying to tweak around, and they just need to rethink the business because it will not work. So I think that will happen. But as I said, I don't know what will happen in 2030. I don't know what will happen next month, guys.
Yeah, But it's very beautiful what you said, that it's not incremental, but it really, truly transformative.
Yeah.
And I hope that this message would stay with our audience. And Margarita, how about you? Is there one assumption that your future self would be like calling it out, if you could, of everything that is happening right now in this point in time?
What I would say is we talk a lot about this fear of missing out and like competitive FOMO, and we cannot allow ourselves to treat this this period of time, this period of discovery, uh, with that in mind. There is a lot at stake, and it not just as from the business perspective, but as a social perspective and a personal one as well. And I think that we should like try to protect as much as we can those real human capabilities that make us um, keep building our cognitive muscle,
Mhm.
our critical thinking, and not to let that muscle weakens, because
Yeah.
then we will all lose
Yes. Totally.
pretending to be in the path of progress. But
Yes.
mm, we
That's
need to
that's powerful. So
protect us.
what I take out of your both future selves is that we have to take this moment actually pretty seriously, but allow ourselves the time to rethink, and not only rethink the technology, but the impact it has on
Yes.
innovation, on business models, and more importantly, on who we are as human
Yeah.
beings, so that we can protect our curiosity, our creativity, and ultimately our ability and beautiful mind to
Yeah.
imagine something new that doesn't exist today. So thank you so much for your honesty and
Thank
thinking
you
hard with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I
very
hope
much.
our audience will be here for the next AI pressure cooker. So I'll keep the heat on, and see you next time. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Cassie, for having us
Thank